been real nice outside. I have not been complaining. And we just got this new little furniture out here, honey. I already was coming to sit out here on the porch, but now I'm definitely coming out here to sit on the porch. So, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning in. If you are new here, please don't be a stranger after you leave here, okay? I'm Crystal Divine. This is my Indigenous lifestyle, and I make videos pertaining to pregnancy, childbirth, and afterbirth. I also make videos about doula care and their services and how much is needed in the medical system or the healthcare system in America right now. I'm also in the process of training to become a doula, so it's a natural passion of mine. So if that's something that you are interested in, please subscribe to my channel, hit the bell so you can turn on my notification. I'm just chilling today. I did a video earlier in the house. I came outside, I was like, dang, it feels so good out here. I'm gonna record my second video out here. Hashtag stay at home is the situation that most of us are going through right now. So yeah, I'm chilling, I'm real comfortable right now. I don't have no earrings on, no lashes, no nothing, just a little bit of baby hairs and clear skin. What I wanted to talk to you guys about today was I just wanted to give some mommies out there some tips who may be weaning. These tips are more so for the mom who, even though she continued to nurse, she still nursed from her breast. A lot of us, we can continue to give our baby breast milk, but we'll just be exclusively pumping instead of feeding the baby from the breast. You wouldn't really have to wean in that case. So I'm pretty much talking to the moms out there that breastfeed from their nurse and you're well beyond the 6 months to a year. Breastfeeding can be very overwhelming. I remember going through a phase where I just felt the intensity of energy being sucked away from my body on a routine hourly basis. After a while, it does get a little tiring, and sometimes we want to wean when we're in that phase, right? We're like, you know what, this guy, I gotta stop. I was even saying that too, but we push through because ultimately our baby isn't all the way eating a whole lot of variety of solid foods or whatever the case may be. We push through, but then comes the real period when it's like, okay, it's time to wean. This is what these tips are for. Something interesting that I did find, I want to read it to you guys. The verb to wean comes from a Hebrew word meaning to ripen. So when the time is ripe, or maybe when the child is ripe, the baby becomes a child who no longer needs to nurse. So we begin to wean the baby off the breast. I just like the way that was put, because it is kind of like a moment where the baby is transitioning into child, or what we like to refer to as the toddler phase. You're still very young, but you're not quite a baby anymore. Something else too, you know, in societies where children are allowed to nurse as long as they want, they usually self-wean with no arguments or emotional trauma between 3 and 4 years old. Now, the baby that I just weaned off of breast milk and breastfeeding, I feel like he had an emotional traumatic weaning experience. He was 1 month away from his second birthday, and that was ultimately my goal, to breastfeed until he was 2 years old and begin weaning. I had already kind of started the weaning process, and we were at the point where he was only nursing at nighttime. Throughout the day, he would drink a lot of water and every now and then some almond milk, but mostly water. And then at nighttime, he would nurse to go to sleep. But then I got into the car accident, and I was on a lot of drugs, prescription drugs and pain medications, and obviously I didn't want to nurse with that in my system because it goes through the breast milk. So he kind of had an emotional traumatic, because it was just like one day we breastfed and the next day it was gone. And then on top of it being gone, I was gone. I was in and out of the hospital for days at a time. And I remember too, like, I couldn't even have them bring him to the hospital because it was a flu season and they weren't allowing children 12 and under to come into hospitals, which that was a whole nother story. To avoid that, to avoid that happening. You know, had that not happened, I would have weaned him a different way. I would have done it in small, manageable steps so that it wouldn't be a traumatic experience for him. So just a couple of tips that I have for you guys. The first tip is remember that what your baby really wants, or your child at this point, your little toddler, what they really want at this point is the loving, physical connection and attention from us. They want that reassurance and that safety. I know for a fact towards the end, most of the time that I was nursing my son, it wasn't because he was hungry. Over time, that bonding experience really plays a toll on a baby, and babies become dependent on that. So it's really that we're weaning them from, more so than the breast milk. So if you keep that in mind, I think it just helps you have a different perspective at weaning, and be able to approach it more with a little bit of more patience and compassion. My second tip for you is to know that this can take a while, especially if you are doing it the way I intended to do it, to decrease nursing and take it away at small, manageable steps. If you plan to do it gradually that way, then you definitely need to be aware that it's going to take time. It's going to take a couple of weeks. It might even take a month or two, depending on how old the child is. Now, when I say toddler, I'm referring to 2-year-old, 1 or 2 years old. Like I said earlier, around 3-4 years old is when they naturally wean or self-wean, or might be your cap or your limit. And so at that point, you definitely want to be aware that it's going to take time to break this 3-4 year old habit. Another tip, which may seem like common sense, but I'm pretty sure we overlook it as women: cover your breasts. We should cover up our breasts, because the sight of our breasts is definitely a trigger for them wanting milk. Even if we're just bending over to pick them up and they're fussy, they're crying, they're cranky, or they hurt themselves, they fell down, you know, they see the boob, they're gonna go to reaching for it. It can help. A nice little tip would be to, you know, cover up your breasts. Start wearing shirts that are not as revealing. And my last tip for you was a tip that I personally didn't experience because I did things backwards. But apparently it is better to night wean first. It's better to wean your baby from night feedings first, and then tackle the daytime. Like I said, for me, it worked the opposite way. During the day was when he was more willing to take that almond milk in replace of my breast milk. But at nighttime, when he was cranky and he was fussy and tired, he was not in the mood for it. He would literally slap the sippy cup out of my hand, and he never took the bottle, so I never tried that. At nighttime, it was just like, give me the boob. And I'm tired on top of it. I'm tired. I gotta get up early in the morning to go to work or do whatever it is I have to do. So I kind of gave in to that. And that was what was traumatic for him and the baby. You know, at nighttime, he was used to going to sleep a certain way, and he couldn't do that anymore. Or the people who was holding him, you know, it just wasn't me. It didn't smell like me. It wasn't that safety, that security of what he had become accustomed to. So those are my tips. Those are my tips about weaning your baby from breastfeeding. Hopefully none of you are out there struggling, and if you are, I hope that this video definitely helped you. Thanks again, guys, for coming by my channel and watching another one of my videos. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.